Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode of the podcast. I am very excited to be joining you today to be sharing about a very exciting project we've been working on for a long time behind the scenes, which is a brand new book which I have written for you guys, and it is called Start and Grow a Profitable Jewellery Business, and it very much does what it says on the tin. It's all about building your own jewellery business, whether you are completely new or whether you've been doing this for a long time. And the focus of the book is how to make that business profitable, because there are so many jewelers that I work with, and I was one of them, that do all the work to set up a business and, are doing all the things, the social media, the websites, the craft fairs, the trade shows, but even after a few years are not turning a profit in their business. And the thing that I think is a real shame is at that point, a lot of people feel like they have to give up because, they can't support themselves. And it is a job for most of us. And there is another way. And it all comes down to being strategic, understanding really how to make this type of business profitable, because it is quite a niche business. There are lots of things that cross, information that you can take from running other businesses, but there are things specific to our industry and particularly handmade jewelers and the way that we work that mean that if we don't do them in a certain way, it's never really going to be profitable. So what I'm really passionate about and I'm dedicated to, especially for the next year or so, is really helping jewelers to understand the figures in their business, their pricing, and what's going to make a difference to the profitability. And the reason why I'm so passionate about profit isn't just because we all love money, although there's always that, but it's because it makes it sustainable. And I know when I started out in my jewelry business, a lot of people thought it would be a fun side project, but they didn't really see how I would make my income from it and support myself from it. And so my kind of task to myself was to prove that I could do that. And I did, and it took some time, and there were definitely ups and downs, and it was a journey. And I know a lot of you guys are on that same journey too, your own version of it. But I think what's really important is to know that it's 100% possible to run a profitable jewelry business. Lots of people do it, but the people that try to do it and don't manage, it's nothing to do with them, their jewelry or anything like that. It comes down to a few simple strategies that they just don't quite know about, because how are you meant to know when you're first starting out? And some people, we all experiment, and some people are lucky and we kind of figure it out, and others don't. So this book is kind of helping to level the playing field with that a little bit and say, well, this is how you can do it. And I don't know exactly how you're going to do it, because we all have our own different pathways, but there's a few fundamental things that we need to get right. For example, our pricing, understanding profit, building that relationship with our customers, our signature style, and various other things that the book goes into. So that's why I'm, really excited about the book, because it's something I feel super passionate about. It's something I believe in. And wherever you are in the world, whatever type of business you have, whether you're doing beading or silversmithing or goldsmithing or stone setting or polymer clay or, anything else, this book is about helping you to build that sustainable, profitable business around your values. And there's nothing quite like this out there. And I would have absolutely loved to have read a book like this when I first started. So I can't wait for you guys to see it. It is out on the 20th of October, so we have a little bit of time, but I wanted to share it with you guys first to let you know what's coming. We also have a mailing list that you can sign up to get updates about when it's released, and we're going to be doing lots of fun things around the book. And we also have a launch party planned, or a launch day, which is going to be in London in the UK, and you guys are all invited. So if you sign up to that list, we'll send you the details as soon as they're available. It's on the 5th of November, which is a Saturday. And there's going to be training on that day as well. So it's going to be our first live training in person for a number of years. And I'm really excited to meet some of you guys there as well. So yeah, if you take a look at a link in the show notes or below, and join that mailing list, then we will keep you up to date. We're not going to send loads of emails, but we'll keep you up to date with stuff happening with the book. And if you're on our main mailing list, we will also let you know about certain key things as well. But the book mailing list is going to be specifically about the book. So we would love to have you guys there. And the book it's a big book. It's huge. It's got like 400 pages. It's a coffee table style book. I really wanted something that was going to be inspiring, that was going to have gorgeous images, and that was going to just really encourage you guys if you're having a difficult time in your business, or you're having a bad day, or you're having a good day and you want to sit down and just see some really lovely stuff that's going to help to motivate you and encourage you around your jewelry business. So I'm excited for you guys to see all of that. And probably one of the best parts of the book are the case study jewelers. So in each chapter, there is at least one case study jeweler. So this is a jeweler that I know or have met along the journey who has done something really wow. So I'll go through some of the contents in a minute just to give you an idea of what's actually covered in the book. But for example, chapter 4, there's a chapter on building a brand that connects. So I have an amazing jeweler who has worked really well on her branding and has developed it over time and has created this gorgeous cohesive brand that shows off her work really well. And I'm going to be getting some of these jewelers on the podcast for sure, so that you can meet them as well. You may know some of them, you may have seen them around on Instagram. They're all different stages, they're all good at different things. And so I think it's really nice to see the theory of how we run this jewelry business, but also to see it in practice. This is how this person does it. And what I think is really nice as well about the case study jewelers is some of them are quite new to running a jewelry business, and some of them have been doing it for ages and kind of bestsellers on huge platforms. So you can sort of get their wisdom as well as everything from the Jewelers Academy team. And even though my name is on this book, so many people have contributed to making it happen. I have an incredible book designer called Emma Renee who has worked day and night to make the book possible, and you'll see in the design, it's a really beautifully designed book, how well she has done. And the whole team, and there's an acknowledgement section at the back where I kind of go into a bit more detail, and I'll be getting various people on the podcast to talk about their involvement and what they're excited for the year ahead as well. So yes, very exciting time. So we want you to join the mailing list. And there's also a Facebook group around the book where, again, I won't be in there all the time, but I'll just be posting little updates and things and asking you guys questions. Maybe you can help me with the journey and the process around the launch event. I was asking the other day about, we're trying to make a decision on the cover, certain foiling types. So all of those things, if you want to be a bit more involved, and I would love to get your input, then come along and join that as well. That'll also be in the link in the show notes. So I'm going to go through the contents really briefly, just to give you a quick overview, because sometimes I think with books, it's hard to kind of think, but what is actually covered here? And then I want to talk about one of the key concepts that is covered in the book. There are so many concepts covered in the book, but this one, I think I haven't really spoken about on the podcast before. And I think it's going to be really helpful if you are trying to build a profitable business. We're talking about what stage you are at, because sometimes we listen to advice from me or from anyone out there who's giving advice, support, training around building a jewelry business or any business, and it might be aimed at someone at a certain stage and you might be at a different stage. So we're going to be talking about the different stages of a profitable jewelry business and trying to highlight where you are and what your priorities need to be. So contents, I don't have the book because it's off at the printers at the moment, but I do have my version, this very messy version, which if you're watching on YouTube, you can just see a pile of papers of the book that we've been editing. So it's all kind of in there. It looks much better, obviously, in the actual book. So I've got a little version of the contents here. And so we start off with an introduction, and I share a bit about my story and about how to use the book. Then we go into chapter 2, which is all about setting goals and your vision. So anyone who's worked with me before will know that I'm really passionate about vision setting, and we do a lot of work around this, and also setting realistic but also very motivational goals to get you moving forward, setting financial financial goals, setting marketing goals, and setting what I like to call soft goals, which are kind of just things that you would like out of this business. Then we go into looking at your jewelry, your product, developing your signature style, what your product range is, and whether that needs tweaking or adapting or developing, and what the future is for that around building a profitable jewelry business. Then we talk about building a brand that connects. So that's where the branding sort of comes in, and we're looking at color palettes, typography, and all of those kind of things. And again, it's suitable for people who are starting, but also people who are growing. So if all of this is new, it may feel like a lot, but it's a book, so you can take it at your own pace. And for those of you a bit further along, we're really tying in the profitability aspect to these elements. So although you may have done them, you may not have thought about how they're going to make your business profitable. So we're sort of circling back to say, okay, I've got a brand, but is that helping to build a profitable business, or is there something that I need to adjust that's going to serve my business better? Then we look at photography, a really important part of the process. Photography is one of your main ways of selling your work online, offline, everywhere these days. So we're going to have a look at how to do some jewelry photography and some principles around that to have a think about. Then probably my favorite chapter, Mastering Your Money, because that's what this book is really about. And here we look at what is profit, understanding your margins in your business. I try and break it down in a really simple way, so we're not going into lots of really detailed calculations or accounting, but we are looking at, okay, what is gross profit? What is net profit? What are your margins? What's your break-even point? And how to price your work. And there's some simple formulas in there for pricing. There's some more advanced formulas as well. With the book, you get access to something called the Profit Kit, which is a kit we have put together for you guys to kind of continue working. So even though it's a book, there's more to it. There's more resources and more support, because we just couldn't fit everything in, even with over 400 pages. And it's the kind of thing you can dip in and out. So you don't have to necessarily read it from cover to cover, even though that would be awesome. You can say, okay, I need to look at my pricing right now, so I'm going to go to that chapter, or I need to look at my branding this week, so I'm going to, focus on that area. So I would recommend reading it all the way through once, and then going back in and dipping in and out if and when you sort of need these different elements in it. So Mastering Your Money, we also look at overcoming your blocks to growth around money. And yes, we look at cash flow forecasting, and it can sound daunting, but we break it down in a really easy, bite-sized way. Chapter 7 is all about the business matters, so things around, how to incorporate yourself if you need to do that, insurance, VAT. So it's a smallish chapter, but it's just covering all those basic important things that we need to get right in our business, so that we can focus on the fun stuff, on the making, on the designing, and all the things we want to do. Chapter 8 is about building a website that sells. So whether you have a website yet or not, we're talking about what needs to go into that website to make it a profitable machine for you. So we also look at Etsy and different options if you're not doing a website. Chapter 9 is all about marketing your work and selling your jewelry. So looking at social media, your email marketing, a lot of the stuff we talk about on the podcast, but going into a little bit more of a structured plan. And there's a bit more space in the book to really delve into those different areas. Number 10 is working with shops and galleries. So this won't be for everyone, but if you have decided that as part of your business model, you would like to work with a shop, selling your work, doing wholesale, then we have a look at how you can go about doing that, how to best maintain those relationships, and how you can grow that side of your business. And we've got a beautiful case study in there as well. Chapter 11 is all about growing a business. So we talk about growing all the way through, but this is a real focus on growth. So how we can, and I'm going to talk about this in just a moment, really hone what you're doing at a certain stage, because obviously we have to start our business and our business kind of expands, and then we need to grow, and growth is all about focus. So choosing which area we want to grow. And there's lots of tools and strategies for building a growing business as well. Chapter 12 is called Community Over Competition, which I love. And we talk there about building a business that has a community community around it. We talk a bit about Jewellers Academy and this community and how we're here to support you ongoing, because of course a book is a wonderful thing to have, but that's never going to be the end of the story. There's always more. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and we're here to support you all the way through. And then there's some lovely kind of thank yous and encouragements just at the end. So that's a little kind of in a nutshell what you can expect from the book. When I have a copy, I will show it to you, do a little flick through, because I think it would be lovely for you to just see it. But absolutely join the mailing list, come and join the Facebook group, get involved in the conversation, because it's a book, but it's also a project. It's something we're working on together. And ultimately, it's not about it being a book. It's about you having a profitable business that can sustain you, that can pay your bills, that can give you the kind of lifestyle you want. And I think if you're able to imagine it, and you're able to let go of certain fears or kind of beliefs that we might have around, but can jewelry really give that to me? Yes, of course it can. And but there are some things that we need to do in order to make that happen. It doesn't just magically happen. And it's not just hard work. There is a belief that often is touted around that if you work hard, you will get it. But you can work really hard in the wrong direction, or even just slightly off course. I talk a lot about, if you don't have your pricing right, you can sell hundreds of pieces and have loads of happy customers and have all this activity in your business, and look at your bank statements at the end of the year and there's no real profit in there. And that's what we don't want to happen. Of course, if that does happen, there's always ways to adjust and change and adapt, but building a profitable business from the get-go is really going to help you to be able to grow and thrive and do more things. So what I wanted to talk about today, as well as kind of cover the book and give you a little intro to it, is this idea of stages in your jewelry business, and what stage you're at and what you should be focusing on, and how to bring in revenue for that stage. Because I think that, often when we're starting a business, we set up our Instagram and our website and we get our listings up and we put it all out there, and it's loads of work, and it can be quite stressful. And then there's not always many sales, or sometimes there's a little flurry and then it kind of teeters off. And I think that can feel very disheartening because of all the work that you put in up front, and then it sort of feels like, oh, there's nothing happening here. And then I hear people say things like, maybe the market is saturated, maybe my pricing's wrong, and then we start to troubleshoot and be like, what is wrong? But I think the real challenge is that that's not how we really start a business, even though that's a really important process to go through and something to do. So I want to read a bit of one of the pages in the book and sort of explain what I mean by these different stages. So this is towards the end of the book, actually, when I'm talking a bit more about structures, and it's called Know What Stage You Are In and Focus on What You Need to Do in That Stage. So it's a section all about focus. And I say, going back to where we started on this journey to building a profitable jewelry business, there are 3 key stages I see in most profitable jewelry business. Stage 1. So stage 1, this is when you are starting out, and this is about getting your first £10,000 in your business. So if you are in another currency, you can translate it. But, it's a significant amount of money for a new business. And I find that once you've got over the £10,000 revenue mark, you kind of know what you're doing by that point. You understand your customers, you've got some real good groundwork done. But until you get there, it's almost like we're proving a concept. We're proving, can this work? Can I do this? Is this possible for me? Which of course it is, but we don't always know that until the figures come in. So stage 1 is all about utilizing your current networks. So you already know about 10 people, give or take, who would be interested in your jewelry. You may not know them very well, but you'll know them. Across your life, you will have come across 10 people who will be interested in your jewelry. And if you don't, then you need to get out and get networking. But I guarantee you, for most of us, we will know them. They may be a hairdresser, a dentist, a best friend, a sister, an uncle, but there will be around 10 people, maybe more. Each of those 10 people will know around 10 people who would also be interested in your jewelry. So that's your first 100 people, and that's what we need to focus on to begin with. So building thousands of followers online is great, but that's not stage one. That's something we can do in the background, and it's a great thing to start doing because it takes sometimes years. But I think that sometimes with online, we get a bit confused and think, I need lots of followers, I need lots of email subscribers. That's stage 2, which we're coming up to in a minute. So it's not to say that we don't want those things, but if you haven't reached that first £10,000 of revenue in your business, that's not where your focus should be. So these 100 people, we want to sell to those people first. They are the low-hanging fruit. And if your average price per piece is £100, then that's your first 10,000. So how do we do that? And the book kind of goes into a bit more detail, but it's a lot more of reaching out to people. It's a lot more of sharing what you do. It's a lot more conversations actually than necessarily posting on social media and sharing all the time. It's actually starting conversations with people around you, talking with your family, talking with your friends, talking with your hairdresser, talking and sharing constantly. You become a bit of a broken record, but I remember doing this in my first couple of years. I've started a jewelry business. This is the kind of stuff I make, constantly wearing your jewelry. And actually that's going to be way more effective for most of us to get to that first 10K figure than trying to build a whole kind of like harem online. So stage 1. That's stage 1. So if you are focusing on your email marketing and your Instagram and your website and you've not reached 10,000 yet, I would say don't stop doing those things completely because they're going to be useful, but switch your focus a little bit. Focus on who's in front of you. And it can be scary. Sometimes it's easier to do stuff online because we're a little bit more removed. So I totally get that. And if you're an introvert, it's not always easy to have these conversations, but set yourself little challenges. Set yourself a challenge to talk to one person a day about your jewelry. You can do that. Even an introvert, you can rest afterwards and get your energy back. But if you can talk to one person a day in a year, you will have talked to over 300 people about your jewelry. And it can be the same person. That's okay. You can be nurturing. And I remember I always talk about my sister. When I first started, I started making these cocktail rings. And I remember I showed them to her and she was like, oh, Jess, they're really cool. And I was like, here you go. You can have one, but I want you to tell at least 10 people about it. And she was like, well, I want 10 then. And I was like, okay, here are 10. Now go and tell 10 people about it. And she was great because you probably know someone as well, even if you're quite quiet and reserved, you probably know someone who can shout about your jewelry. So get them on board and just start these conversations, and don't be afraid to do more things face to face. Don't be afraid to do more things in direct messages. Don't be afraid to ask for help for people. Say, I'm starting this thing. I want to know what you think. Like, is there anyone who might be interested in it? So really start using that sort of networking muscle, not just about posting and sharing. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is all about the kind of 10K to sort of 50K, I would say, figure, just bringing it back to the profitability or the income, I suppose, we're looking at this stage in our business. So stage 2 is about building new networks. So we've had this network, we've utilized it, and I've worked with jewelers in the past where they've said, I have done all of those things, and all of my friends and family have bought hundreds of pieces from me, and they're maxed out, like they're done. So now we need these new networks. And the good thing about this is we've already been building them. So in the background, we've already been building some networks so that we're not starting cold from nothing. This is usually done online. It takes a few years to grow. So we trust that we can be working on this in the background and create that connection online. So this is what I think is a real key piece, is that building connection online is wonderful, but it takes time. So if I see a jeweler online, sometimes I'll see one and I'll be like, oh, I just want to buy from them, done. But most of the time I'll be like, oh, interesting. Let me, keep them in mind. And, oh, there's a birthday coming up. Or maybe not this time, but next time. And so we need to give people time to warm to us and to trust that we're still there. And this happens with Jewelers Academy as well. Sometimes people will say, oh, I'm really interested in the diploma program, but I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'll come back next year. And then next year they come back and they're like, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. And so it's giving people that time to learn about who you are, to warm up to you, and to build that trust, because jewelry is a trust based purchase. So this is what, so I think a lot of us just skip to stage 2. And the reason why it doesn't work so well to skip to stage 2 is we need the evidence from stage 1. We need the trust, we need those customers, because some people will move over from stage 1 to stage 2. They'll say, oh, I bought from you in person a few times and now you're building this online site and I'm going to buy from there. So you'll have some kind of loyalty built in. You'll also have things like testimonials. You'll be much more confident as a seller because you will know you've already reached that 10K mark. So you won't be so nervous or sort of anxious about selling online, which I know can happen if it's brand new. And you've got time, you've built up your images. So it really is a much stronger kind of base to start from when you're selling online in that way. So building new networks. This is usually done online. It takes a few years to grow. Might have already read this bit. Double read my book. What we're working on it in the background, creating connection online to build website sales for longer term growth. So obviously, unless you are amazing at talking to people, you probably won't know enough people to sustain your business forever. I mean, maybe. And it depends if you're working with commission-based pieces and more high-end pieces. Actually, you can do it all in that way because you may not need that many customers. But if you're building more a business where you need to sell volume, you will need to switch to online sales where strangers will buy from you online. But we don't want to start there. That's a very challenging place to start. So we want to start with the warmer audience, which are the people you already know, and then build up some warmth online so that people start buying from there. And that normally takes you up to around the 50K mark. And then you might sort of feel like, okay, I'm getting traffic to my website, I'm getting sales, people know me, people are buying from me, but how do I push past this point? And that's stage 3. So stage 3 is about creating a community out of these networks that not only continues to bring in new customers, but also cultivates loyalty so that people buy from you again and again. So you want to be the go-to jeweler in everyone's life. So everyone who knows you, they're like, I've got a plumber, I've got an electrician, this is my jeweler. If I want to buy jewelry, I go there. If I need help with jewelry, I go there. If I need referrals about, buying jewelry that they don't sell, I go there. And this is stage 3 is really about building this community and also having a real identity as a business and focusing on growth. So jewelry is a trust purchase and many jewelers have returning customers. So you don't need thousands of followers or email contacts for this to be profitable. This stage is also about finding your business growth area, which we talk about in the book. If you have a hybrid business, so you're doing lots of different things in your business, now might be the time to pick one area to focus on and go all in for growth there. So when I have mentor jewelers who are at this stage, who are further along, who have a lot of revenue in their business, but are not necessarily making a profit, or often they're very overwhelmed and tired and doing lots of things, which I can definitely relate to at times. What we're saying at this stage is actually drop some of those things. So you've built your individual networks, you've built your stuff online, you'd probably be doing fairs and events, maybe you've started teaching, you're probably doing lots of different things. Most jewelers are at this sort of stage, and it's saying, okay, but which of those do you want to be the area you're really growing in? Because when we talk about growth and we talk about focus, we don't start there. We start with expanding and then we come into the focus. And that's why I think it's really important when you're listening to advice online or you're taking training or even reading the book, whatever, is you think, but is it talking to my stage? And always keeping in mind your goals, your focus, your stage, what you're trying to do, and saying, is this relevant to me? Like, do I need Pinterest right now? Or is that something for later? Or, do I need to start a YouTube channel? Is that going to help me get my first 10,000? Probably not. But it might help with stage 2 and stage 3, depending on what area you want to grow in and what kind of community you want to build around your brand. So that's one page of the book that we talked about today. And I just wanted to kind of break it down a little bit for you and give you some ideas. I think there might be some things in there that would be really helpful to take away. I want you to have a think about what stage you're at. I want you to have a think about what activities you're doing in your business and whether they are pointing towards a profitable, sustainable future, or whether you're just doing stuff because you've been told to do it and it feels like it's a good thing to do. And nothing wrong with that, because it probably is a good thing to do. But if we're doing things for a different stage, that's when we get frustrated, because that's when it's not profitable usually. And that's when we kind of can get demotivated. And I think I just want to say, it's not you. If your business isn't profitable, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your jewelry. There might be things that we want to tweak, absolutely, but it is probably to do with your business model and the strategy behind it. So that is why I am here, and we're here as a team to kind of help you figure that out and figure out the journey that's right for you. So I hope that has been helpful today. Thank you so much for joining me. Yes, I will keep you updated on the book. As you can tell, we're all super excited about it, and I just can't wait for you to get a copy in your hands, and I can't wait to meet some of you at the launch event. If you are not based anywhere near London and the 5th of November doesn't work, we are hoping to do some more events as well after that one, so don't be dismayed if you can't make the very first one, but I am very much looking forward to all of it. So thanks again, have a lovely week, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye for now.